Hello, so we're just going to do a quick video here on the introduction for pieces of equipment, but especially the collar. I'm going to demonstrate using my dog Lottie, who isn't a puppy, but all the things I'll show you today apply for a young pup as well. I'm having to film this myself, so apologies for the rubbish angles and such. So when we're fitting any piece of equipment, but in this instance the collar, all we want to do initially is make sure that the association is good, and when the collar appears, good things happen. So all you need to do is take the collar with one hand, and in your other hand have some treats. Your collar and the treats go behind your back like that, and very simply, piece of equipment comes out, the dog doesn't have to do a thing, and you feed with the other hand. Nom nom nom, easiest game in the world. As soon as the equipment goes away, the food stops as well. Easy. Equipment out, feed, feed, feed. The stage after that is before we move the piece of equipment towards the dog and just hope that they like it. We want proof that the dog is happy to approach the piece of equipment. So all we do for that is we're almost treating the piece of equipment like a hand touch target. So you can either hang the collar down like that, have it in a ball or something like that. And all we're going to do is we're going to reward the pup for coming towards the piece of equipment. Lottie here obviously knows what she's doing. She's 5 and she'll just sit here all day. So if needs be, you can throw a piece of kibble on the pup's bed, get him away, hold the piece of equipment still. Does the pup come towards it? Good, and treat. Especially if the pup gives the collar a little bit of a nudge or anything like that. Lottie won't, because she's not the smartest cookie and we don't play this game. But you can see that she's happily coming up to the piece of equipment. So again, you can reset, kibble onto the dog's bed, get the dog away, hold the piece of equipment out. Does the dog come back to it? Yes. Praise and feed to the equipment. Really important at this stage that the equipment is dead still in your hand, and as the dog's approach, you're not doing that to him or anything else, because we really want to make sure that the dog's happy to come towards it. So with the collar especially, once we've got that stage and the puppy is just sitting there happily being around the piece of equipment and is approaching it, then we can move on to actually getting the equipment on them. All you need to do initially, have the collar scrunched up like that, or again in a ball or anything like that, touch to the side. Good. As soon as it hits the skin, you say, good. Then treat it like north, east, south and west. Is the pup all right? North, east, under the chin and west. So all the areas like that the collar's going to touch the pup. Just little gentle touches, and each time you do, you're saying good and giving the puppy a treat. Then you can rest the collar a little bit on the neck. Is the puppy happy? Good. And you're just feeding multiple treats when the collar's resting there. Depending on what collar you've got, if it's a clippy collar, before you get it on, do a couple of clips. Good. And treat. And again, good. And treat. Just because otherwise, sometimes if the puppy's the first time they hear that click, is when it's going around the neck and they hear it behind them here, it can cause them to jump. And if that causes them to jump, this suddenly becomes very scary. If it's a leather collar, you don't need to worry about that. So once the puppy is happy being touched everywhere with it and they're getting treats for it, and it's a nice easy game, we can do the collar up. The clippy ones are easier for that. The leather ones will be a little bit fiddly. If there's 2 of you in the house, you can even have someone just feeding the pup some treats as you get the leather one on, because it can be, like I said, a little bit fiddly. And we can talk about stillness and calmness with the fitting of equipment later, but this is purely about the introduction to the pieces of equipment. Fit the collar nice and loose initially, just so it's not too restrictive. And then gradually see how the pup takes it, and if the puppy is happy with it, you can make it tighter and tighter until it's the size we want. In terms of sizing, what we want is we don't want the collar too big that you can pull the collar over the dog's ears. You want it to be able to stop in and around the ears at the back here, and you want to be able to get 2 or 3 fingers underneath as well to make sure that it's not too tight. Certainly at this stage, I would rather it be too loose than too tight. And when we come and do the visits, we can have a look at that anyway. Once the puppy is wearing the collar, do a couple of positive movements with the pup. So you can either do, if we've done this at this point, some hand touch targets, yep, and get the dog really moving around. Yep, Lottie isn't because she's lazy, but you can get the dog moving that way. Or you can play the pup with a toy, or you can take the pup like to your garden and have a bit of fun there. In essence, this thing goes on and lovely things happen. Don't worry too much initially. Your puppy will have a scratch at it, perfectly normal. We only tend to worry if it gets really excessive. So, you know, if the pup's wearing the collar for 30 minutes and literally will not stop scratching the entire time, just give us a shout. But some scratching and a little bit of kind of what's this is normal. The only other thing to keep in mind in terms of questions with the collar, I'll just hold it, is make sure if the pup is unattended for decent amount of times, the collar comes off. Overnight in the crate or in the day, if you're putting the pup in the crate, the collar is always off. If you're just bobbing upstairs to the loo or something like that, the collar can stay on because you're going to be back down like in a minute or two. If you're going upstairs for a shower and you're going to be 20-30 minutes, take the collar off just so the pup doesn't get the collar caught and anything like that. Any questions as ever, just give me or your PDA a shout. But that's it for now. Thank you. Bye.